Hi, everyone. Welcome. I believe everyone's in now. Thanks so much for your patience while we let folks join. We're really excited today to kick off this session. So thank you again for joining us. Before I officially turn things over to our moderator and co-chair of the SOMers and Supply Chain PAG, Malendra Singh, I'd like to just take a brief moment to introduce myself and share a bit of context on our Yale SOM professional alumni groups. So I am Joanna Tondolo, Director of Strategic Initiatives with our Alumni Relations and Broad Center teams here at Yale SOM. As you may know, we launched 5 professional alumni groups this past March. These groups were created to bring together our alumni across industries, geographies, and career stages along global trends that are reshaping organizations and the future of work. They also serve as a bridge connecting our alumni communities with the incredible resources, reach, and initiatives across Yale. Today, we're excited to host this unique virtual workshop on vibe coding. This was organized and supported in partnership with our Supply Chain Professional Alumni Group, otherwise known as SOMers in Supply Chain. If you are not a part of that group yet, I encourage you to sign up and join them on SOM Connect. This workshop today will be led by founder and host Nick Brackley, class of 2020, Diana Toma, class of 2020, who is a customer success lead at George, and our panel or our moderator, Malendra Singh, class of 20, senior product manager at Amazon. And thank you all for our partnership, our SOMers and Supply Chain Professional Alumni Group, the co-chairs as well, Sid Mishra, Srinath Sabathapathy, Jorge Tejada, and Andrea Pacheco for their support in organizing this event. So with that, I will turn it over to Malendra to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Joanna. Appreciate that. Hi, everyone. My name is Milendra. I am the co-lead for SOM and supply chain. So super excited to have everybody here. So welcome. This is our first proper AI event that the group is hosting. So we're genuinely excited to have you here with this awesome group of alumni that we have today. A little backstory here. It was in 2024, I was noticing something that there was a surprising, large number of SOMOs in the world of supply chain and operations, but somehow we were all living these parallel lives and not really talking to each other. So naturally, I did the most obvious thing is I was spamming people on LinkedIn, and that's how I met Sid, Srinath, Andrea, and Jorge, and we started talking. And a simple question that we asked ourselves is how do we really build a community around this at SOM and get everybody talking? And fast forward to that, with the help of Joanna's team and the overall SOM team, we are now a group of 140 alumni, which has just been an awesome journey over the last 1 year. This vibe coding event itself had a very organic community outcome as well. Diana actually posted a WhatsApp, a picture on the WhatsApp group in Seattle, and Nick commented on it. And that just led to a very cool conversation and sparked up an idea. Hey, why don't we get together and do a great vibe coding event as a way to make it fun, accessible, and more hands-on for the SOM community? So that's really the magic of that one small conversation that can snowball into something more meaningful. So as you're sort of thinking about the PAGs, I encourage all of you to sort of consider how you can contribute, but also build communities yourself, because all it takes is that one message and a little bit of digital courage. So with that, today's game plan is fairly simple. Diana is going to kick us off with best practices. Nick is going to lead an awesome walkthrough of the vibe coding tool that he single-handedly built. We will have 2 hands-on activities, including a breakout session where you get a chance to meet each other, build some networks, and actually build something on Vibe Otter. And then we'll wrap it up with some presentations from some willing volunteers. One quick reminder is that our first activity will require a resume, so would suggest everybody keeping that handy as we kick this off. Lastly, I strongly suggest stay for the entire session because we have 4 raffle giveaways scattered throughout the workshop, and it offers everybody a real possibility of leaving today with a coveted SOM swag. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Diana. Diana, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Melendra. I'm going to go ahead and share a quick little presentation on AI overview and best practice. Can you all see my screen? Wonderful.
Yes.
So before we dive into everything, just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Diana Toma, and I come into this with a professional experience of roughly 4 years in technical implementation consulting, followed by product management at both Cisco and Amazon. And as mentioned earlier, now working in both product and business strategy in the digital mental health space. I came about this path through a combination of community engagement with public health systems, pro bono consulting as an entrepreneur, as well as an entrepreneur at City, at Yale, and now I am currently the Seattle chapter lead, trying to facilitate this kind of awareness throughout our community. I also come into this with AI expertise through machine learning logic, my own participation at Yale Health Tech, and more recently, a focus on AI ethical development at Amazon for leaders in transition, as well as in the digital mental health space. With that, I wanted to transition into the impact and implications of AI. By going through a little bit of the history, since the 1956 Dartmouth Conference, where John McCarthy first coined the term artificial intelligence, AI's trajectory has been defined by alternating periods of optimism and stagnation. The turning point was in the 2010s with the rise of deep learning, enabled by vast data sets, affordable GPU computation, and breakthrough neural network architecture, exemplified by IBM Watson and DeepMind's AlphaGo. Moving forward to the 2020s, this has experienced an exponential leap, as we all have noticed with the introduction of large language models like OpenAI's GPT-3. And now, trained on hundreds and billions of tokens, GPT-3 has surprising fluency and context-aware text generation, which has accelerated into an AI arms race with the top industry leaders such as Google, Anthropic, and Meta to release their own foundational models. However, this has also prompted calls for transparency, interpretability, and regulatory frameworks. So as you vibe code today, I strongly recommend that you test out the technology and also utilize the framework of how what you're building impacts the individual, their relationships, and state and society. The advantages from today's workshop that I want to make sure you are able to take away today is really being empowered to build your own brand by designing a personal profile, creating custom websites, and eventually having that foundation to deliver value from your extensive expertise through different distribution channels. And last but not least, some best practices before we get into our vibe coding is to really think about building a persona, creating a clear context and ask around what you're expecting this AI persona or AI agent to accomplish, and keeping it concise by defining tone and, when possible, providing frameworks that the AI can use in order to create product that you envision. With that, let's go ahead and get started, and I will send this over to Nick. And while we're going through today's session, I will also be providing reference material on AI terminology and more examples on how to engineer. Take it away, Nick.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming out. It's great to see you all. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So yeah, what I'm going to be going through today, thanks for the introduction, Diana. And then we're going to have two major parts to this. So the first one's going to be a demo of essentially turning your resume into a personal website. And then following that and an exercise we do, I'll show you how Vibe Otter can actually essentially stand up an e-commerce store with like a designer front end with almost no real effort on your part. Maybe like 1 minute of actual active time and 30 minutes of waiting. So we'll start so for this section, I'll go over my story real quick. I'm going to start the live resume to website live demo just because it takes about 5 minutes. The AI literally is building an entire website, so there's a little bit of wait. In the meantime, I'll go over the vibe coding tool landscape of both my service, but also a bunch of competitors, because a lot of you my service might not be the best thing for you. There may be other tools that are more appropriate for you want, and I'll lay that out for you. And then we'll do an exercise where anyone who wants to can create their own personal website. We'll show you how to set up the form so you receive emails if someone emails you, how to add your own headshot to personalize the site, and even add it so that people can download your resume if they want. So just a little bit about me. I was in the U.S. Army for 8 years, and I did 2 combat deployments to Afghanistan, so I was one of those like non-standard MBA candidates. I ended up getting married and wanted to get out of the Army because I didn't think it was very good for a family. And I got really lucky getting into Yale SOM. I thought it was just an incredible way to transition out of the military. And, I had a wonderful time at SOM. I ended up landing a corporate strategy role at T-Mobile, and that was my post-MBA job. And then about 2 years after SOM, I started doing a professional master's in electrical engineering program at the University of Washington. The timing of it was totally serendipitous for me because ChatGPT came out about 2 months after I enrolled. So I really leaned into the software engineering side, and I ended up learning generative AI from the guy who does Amazon's recommendation engine. He taught us all kinds of hacky ways to get LLMs to like talk to each other, to control each other, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. It ended up actually becoming a buzzword. If you've heard agentic AI, I essentially took a course in agentic AI about a year before it became a buzzword. And I ended up deciding to quit my job, really with no plan, just because I was like, this technology is the future. It's obviously going to be extremely valuable, and I just want to lean into it. That's why I don't have any icon here. It kind of jumped into the blind. And after about a year of a lot of failures, I eventually settled on Vibe Otter. So I'll start the personal website demo right now. This is just the homepage. Whenever you go, you click here. And a lot of people get afraid at the blank slate problem. They don't really know what to type in. I actually think that's the greatest strength of AI, is it solves the blank slate problem. You just tell it what you want, and it kind of figures it out for you. So really, really simple prompt. Let's just imagine I want to recruit for Big Tech Product Manager. I drop my resume in. I click Start Building, and I make a little fake account. And then it's going to get spinning. So like I said, this will take about 5 minutes. We'll return to this once it's complete, and we'll go over the rest of the demo of how to set up your personal website. As I said, in the meantime, this is really how I see the vibe coding tool landscape. I tried to segment this into like 3 groups of people that might be interested in vibe coding and the tools that are really meant for each group. So on the left-hand side, I define it as kind of the non-technical. You have no idea how to code, and you just really don't know anything about technology. You probably don't even know what the term API means. And you just want a website. You essentially just want to get customers coming to your business. You might be a club leader in a school that wants to put your club information out on the internet and get people to come learn about you. In the middle, I say like non-technical people that want to create like an MVP app. You really do want to apply technology in some way to solve some problem that would be just unthinkable 5 years ago for somebody of your skill set. And then on the far right, this is where I'm going to say is someone that actually does know how to code and do software engineering, but you just want to accelerate yourself like 10 to 100 times and essentially like, replicate getting venture capital funding of having like an engineering team of 10. So this left-hand side over here, like these people basically want simple landing pages and just get lead generation, or like we're doing today, just an online presence to look great. I think Vibe Otter is the best tool. This is exactly who we're targeting. And then the big limitations of Vibe Otter right now is we're really not meant for building full stack web apps. So for people not familiar with what that means, if like you need to register for an account or like really have anything dynamically happening beyond just looking at the web page, you're going to want to go to the right-hand columns. I do put an asterisk on this. I've had some, I didn't build it to do that, but I've had some users essentially build sites. It just worked out. And down the line, if you like Vibe Otter and you do want to build a site like this, you can contact me and I can probably work with you to build that site also. That said, it doesn't work off the shelf. Say you want to go out and you have an idea for an app, you want to make some kind of Airbnb variation or something like that. That's going to be too much for Vibe Otter. It's not meant for that. There's all kinds of tools for this. You may have heard of some of them. I haven't used this category that much myself, but the one I will at least say for websites that I consider my best competitor AI-wise is Lovable. I think it's pretty similar to our service for building full-stack web apps. And I forgot to put one on, but Windsurf, I actually had some users that successfully like built pretty complex apps on Windsurf, so I wanted to throw that in there too. I will say though, on this middle category, as amazing as it sounds, it's not like you're just going to like type in something and get like a full Airbnb functional app. There's still going to be a lot of work involved in this category. You still might actually spend as long as you used to building an app. Like it might take 3 weeks to really build a good app. The big difference though is it unlocks the fact that you don't need to know how to code and you don't need technical skills, which is a colossal difference. You're not limited to having to find a technical co-founder anymore. And then for those just curious about like if AI is going to replace software engineering, this is kind of this right-hand category. Like you can do pretty crazy stuff if you actually know what you're doing and you have the right tools. You really can rebuild a lot of stuff that was like full companies applications in like days now. I'm pretty bullish on a lot of software engineering getting replaced by AI personally. I think for my own startup, I estimate that me using these tools is probably the equivalent of an engineering team of like 10 to 20 people. The tools here, if you've heard of them, Claude Code and OpenAI Codex are my favorite. And then I'm sure people have heard of Cursor. That's a big AI tool that's out there. I don't really get why people use Cursor personally. It's kind of a more expensive, not from the creators of the AI tool, but that's out there too. And I will say, like, even if you're in this second category, you're a non-technical user who wants to just create MVP apps. If you were like dead serious, where you're like, the future of my life is going to be, to create technology apps. I'm going to keep cycling through them until something works. You may actually want to learn how to use these. They're not totally inaccessible to technical people. You can ask them questions to help yourself actually learn how to use them. And these are much more powerful than really anything over here. I wouldn't say that to everyone, but I think in the group of like, MBA alumni, there actually may be some people where it's a worthwhile investment to just learn how to do the real thing. With that said, I think we are good here. So the site's been built. So the very first thing you'll see once you build most sites that have a lead page is it just asks you for your email. This is going to be the email that your form sends to. This is a thing that only Vibe Otter does, and this is what I mean by we're really meant for these like small business owners that have no idea that they even need to set up a lead form. So I really try to make it a white glove service so that like you can't mess it up and it's going to give you what you want. So we'll fill it out from my demo email and click setup form. The AI is working right now, and we won't do anything else until it finishes, but we can start browsing through the site that was created. Some kind of Seattle-ish scene. We have an About Me section. And then it goes off of my resume. It kind of presents the resume in like a timeline view. Have all of the various education pulled from the resume, summarizes some of my skills and experience, calls out a few special team things, and then we have our form down at the bottom. So what we'll do next is, once the AI is still spinning, finishing up the form. Once it completes that, we'll test the form to make sure that it's emailing. I always recommend testing anything that's critical like that for capturing leads, because if your form wasn't working, there'd be no point in setting up this site. And then I'll show you how to replace the stock image very easily and also add it so that someone could download your resume. Okay, so it just said the form was complete. Let's test it out. And then this is the test email box here. We'll check back while that's sending. So to swap out your picture, to personalize your site, there's this button up here called manual mode. This is another pretty unique feature of Vibe Otter. We're not just pure AI. You actually can directly edit the text and pictures yourself. So you just click on the picture when you're in manual mode, and you can put a headshot in of yourself. It'll upload real quick. You click there and save it. And now you've personalized your site for yourself. Oh yeah. And then, yeah, so we see then we got our submission, the form set up. It was pretty painless. And then the final thing we'll do is maybe if you wanted to use this for recruiting, you want to let a recruiter download your resume. So if you want to do a more major change that you can't just do through that manual mode by swapping out a picture, you just tell the AI what you want. So we already gave it our resume, so you can just say, add a section that allows people to download a PDF of my resume. And because you already sent it the resume, it should be able to do that. Every once in a while during the exercise, you may have to redrop the resume in when you send that. Well, that's rolling. Just if anyone wants to see some funny prompts that people send into Vibe Otter. Because the cool thing about running an AI company is you see everything that everyone sends into it. And these are actually a good examples too of like stuff that AI really can't do right now. So like the left-hand side, someone literally just asked to recreate Amazon, which, as happy as that makes me that somebody thinks I made something that can recreate Amazon, like no AI is anywhere close to being able to do anything like that right now. Another example of prompts that don't work as well are like very vague prompts like this. So it's at superhuman.com, but for medical tourism. I had to look up what superhuman was. And I mean, even to me as a human, it's not totally obvious how this could relate to medical tourism. And then, like a stock photo of 3 guys and a girl, they need to be adult siblings. Like, we couldn't know as humans if people were adult siblings in a stock photo, so it's probably not reasonable to expect AIs to be able to do that. Okay, so it says that it's done, and it's added a resume download section. There we go, right up front. Let's see if it's real. And yeah, sure enough, it is real. I know you can't see that, but it downloaded. Okay. So that brings us to the exercise portion where I think you all can go make your personal websites. So what we're going to do now is we'll do the personal exercise. And really, I think the 3 criteria that we would look for to see if you set up your personal website right are if you were able to set up your form just by putting in your email, adding your own headshot like I showed you, and adding a downloadable resume, or really anything else you want. You can drop other kinds of media. You could drop a YouTube embed link in if you want. Any of that would be fine to learn the basics of the tool. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And are we going into breakout rooms for this one, Melindra?
And we are at time. I'm sure folks are still building, but just to sort of move this along, would love to move to the next part of the discussion. But before that, we do have a raffle draw right now for anybody who raises their hand and wants to show us their website that they've built. It doesn't have to be an extensive presentation, just 2 minutes. Show us what you built, share it with the group, and then we can move on to the next part, which is a slightly more involved session with Nick. So does anybody want to raise their hand and go first? All right, I see your hand raised. Christine, floor is yours. Please share your screen and walk us through it, or share your website.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me. Okay,
Do you have share access, Christine? If you don't, we can provide it.
that's what I'm trying to find out.
Sure.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
So yeah, I used pretty much the same prompt Nick was using. Hey, build me a website. This is my resume. However, I also focus on, hey, make sure you include a direct two options. One is like, get in touch with email, but another one is like, make sure there's a call to action for my LinkedIn connection. And they did like great job. Like it's the first screen, and it's like obviously using the visual that's typically how people like, associate it when they see this visual. It's like, okay, you connect to LinkedIn. So I'm pretty impressed.
For walking through that. Nick, Diana, I'm just curious if you have any comments or thoughts for Christine.
Yep, let me pull it up again.
Yeah, I thought it was cool you were able to hook it up to your LinkedIn. I like it when people always try something new.
Yeah. And one thing I would like to highlight is I saw you show my phone numbers and my email directly on the website. I told it like, please let's remove it. And basically nothing broke after that. So I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, thanks a lot for trying it. It looks great.
Awesome. Well, Christine, you are also the winner of the first raffle. So Johanna will reach out to you directly on that. So congrats on using Vibe Otter, but also winning some awesome swag. I actually looked at the swag. I wish I had it myself, but you know what? We're going to give it to you.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Nick, I'll hand it over back to you for the next session.
Yeah. So again, thanks for sharing, Christine. I hope it worked out for everyone. Please let me know if for some reason the site or the builder didn't work out for you. There was a question from Amandeep here. He asked, we built a copy of it, and he was like, if he wants to share it on like yourname.com. I don't know if any of you click publish, but right now if you publish it, it would have gone to like yourname.vibeotter.com. If you actually want it on a custom domain, which is yourname.com, we require a subscription plan for that. That's actually one of the main things you subscribe for. So that's essentially how we work. You can either build these sites for free and just leave them up on our vibeotter.com domain, or you can actually subscribe and put it on your own name. It's actually an excellent segue too into one of my personal motivations for why I was interested in personal websites. So we did this in the context of recruiting, but one nice thing about a personal website is it can actually help you take control of your presence on Google. Because most people don't have personal websites, you can actually, change how you rank in Google for yourself. For me, this was always kind of an issue because before I was an entrepreneur, I didn't show up anywhere on my own Google if you Googled me. And this guy right here was like the most prominent one. And I just, didn't. It's not like the best picture in my mind for what I want people associating with me. So what you can do with these personal websites is if you own yourname.com, you almost always rank at the very top of Google, and then you can put pictures on it which also influence the pictures. So I think it is a very useful way to actually control your digital presence better. So yeah, with that, thanks for doing the exercise, everybody, and we'll get into the next part. So the personal website's probably one of the easiest things you can do with Vibe Otter. When I said Vibe Otter can't make like full stack Airbnb apps, we do have one area we're really leaning into for doing full stack apps, and it's e-commerce, because there's a lot of small business owners that want to sell stuff online. We integrate with Shopify, which for those of you that, I would imagine in the supply chain world, most people are aware of Shopify, but I've just noticed Shopify is like one of the biggest companies that I feel like a lot of people don't know about. Shopify runs a lot of online stores that you go to. You may not realize it. And they're pretty much the main e-commerce backend for people that want to do their own e-commerce sites. I built an integration so that you can connect any Shopify site that you already have existing to Vibe Otter, and Vibe Otter will build you a custom designer front end. I'm not going to do a live demo of it because it takes a very long time. It takes like 20 to 30 minutes for the AI to actually do it, because it is potentially integrating like thousands of products and all of their information into a website. It's like a very non-trivial task that, like, if you paid a designer right now, would probably cost like $10,000. So 30 minutes in lieu of $10,000, I think, is a pretty reasonable amount of time, but I can't demo it here. So I saved a video of myself making a Shopify site. So it starts off the same way. This one I'm just going to pause it quick, because this one I don't put in as simple as a prompt. I actually wanted to make a much higher quality site. One thing a lot of users have done is they actually use an AI like ChatGPT to create the prompt. I used Quad here to create a prompt that I thought would work a lot better. And then I drop it into Vibe Otter. It's getting such good results. Eventually, I'm actually going to build a tool that lets you do this on Vibe Otter. But for now, I would say if you're actually interested in making a real commercial like e-commerce site, talk to Claude or GPT, get a really good prompt, and then drop it in. You'll get much better results. So it talks about designer websites that I've never even heard of, but they sounded pretty cool, so I went with it, and it lays out all the color schemes, everything you need. The first build was about 10 minutes. We just fast forwarded through. And you'll land here. So this right here, this is the actual Shopify website that I'm going to be connecting. For practice, I just use random people's sites. And Shopify's rule is you can connect to any site, but it always has to check out at their checkout, so that way they always get paid for their own products. So this is just an example of the current site. This is actually a pretty good Shopify site, I think. This is built with the default Shopify drag and drop templates. I would say this is a better kind of do-it-yourself Shopify site. So we'll see if we can improve on it. So all you have to do is just get the address to the site, and then you drop it in here and click connect. And then the AI will do everything else for you to integrate all the products. I've tested it on sites of up to like 1,000 products, so I don't really think there's a limit. So now is the really long part. This takes about 20 minutes. We just fast forwarded through it. There is the free custom domain there. And if you actually do this, you can't test the checkout feature unless you actually put the site on the Vibe Otter domain. It won't work in the Vibe Otter builder. So here we go. It appears to have added the products of the site. Test out adding to cart. Came out with a pretty cool design. I think this is what I was kind of hoping for this juice product. I think a real strength of these custom front ends compared to normal Shopify is you can do these more broader branding kind of pages that tell your story and just generally give the brand feel that you're looking for, rather than just being a bunch of products like you see now and like most Shopify sites are. So now we'll test add to cart. All these products are actually linked to Shopify, so you wouldn't modify them in Vibe Otter. You control it all in Shopify. Because I know as supply chain people, you're probably aware of how important it is to have like a single source of truth for important data like product inventory. Then you can check out. This took me to the actual store owner's checkout. So if you bought any of these products, you would be paying the store owner, not me. And I think an interesting space I kind of want to explore eventually is like influencers or people that just have a bunch of traffic to their websites. Finding random store owners and partnering with them to include their products on the site for some kind of affiliate. As you can see here, you would be able to do that with virtually no effort. And that seems like kind of a promising space that you probably couldn't have done before AI. Because like I said, this would be about a $10,000 designer job, what you just saw. And then this is just the original site again, so you can kind of see the difference. Like I said, optimized for immediate sales. I think for people interested in branding, it's a pretty serious drawback. So this is like my section on advanced prompting. This is not, I actually don't prompt like this to Vibe Otter very much. Like if you just need to tell it to like change a page title or something, you don't need to do this. This is probably going to be if you want to be the person going and making full stack web apps. A lot of times when I actually prompt stuff to improve Vibe Otter itself, I may type for a half hour very carefully thinking of my prompt. And that's how I get good results of doing very, very complex things. And after some reflection, I realized it actually came from my Army experience. I think when I watch a lot of people prompt AI, they talk to it like it's a human, and they try to act friendly to it and everything. And my natural inclination, I was a commander in the Army, is to give orders. So I kind of found that I just naturally give AI's orders the same way I would of soldiers, and I think it works very well. So I went through Army Ranger School, and in Ranger School and throughout the Army, the basic way they teach you to give any direction to anybody is a task, condition, standards. And if it's a human, you also need to give a deadline, or else you can't reasonably expect it's done. And this works really well for me for AI. So the task everyone does, well, most people do, except for the funny prompts we saw. But you just tell it what you want. So in this example, write an email summary of our supply chain optimization analysis to my boss. And to be clear, you probably don't need to do all this for an email. This is more how you would want to do it for like a full web app. I think conditions is where a lot of people miss out. A lot of people don't give the AI context that's needed. When I read a lot of prompts that people send, I'm like, as a human, I couldn't actually understand what you're talking about. And a lot of times people they fail to appreciate AIs just can see everything instantly. So they can see all kinds of things that are ambiguous to them that might not be ambiguous to you because you're just looking at one part of a page. So in this, I say, drop in, here's our PowerPoint deck, and here's a previous email chain from a different project of mine for me and my boss's writing voice. If you didn't set that context, it's obviously going to write in a totally different voice than you may want. And then finally, standards. I really don't think many people do this, and I get really good results with this. In the military, you always tell people exactly the end state that you expect it to look like. You essentially visualize the outcome and tell people what you expect. AI seem to do very well with that. It helps resolve a lot of ambiguity. So for this, if I didn't say this, it would probably just write an email of a bunch of details for the PowerPoint. But if I say structure it as a bottom line up front with 3 key takeaways nested in like pyramid principle, McKinsey style under the email, it's going to do what I want then and probably really deliver an email that would be a lot better for what I want. So, if you put all 3 together, to be clear, then you actually say it all in one prompt and send it, and you would get a much better result than if you just say, like, here's a PowerPoint deck, write a summary of it to my boss. Yeah. So with that, we're going to get into the actual breakout exercise portion where you'll get into small groups and build websites. I will say probably avoid the e-commerce sites in your exercise. I think it'll probably take longer to build than the time we have. It takes like 20 to 30 minutes on a good day, and I think during your personal website development, it was probably running a little bit slow because there was more people than usual. So yeah, I would stay away from the e-commerce prompts. But otherwise, yeah. Melindra or Diana, are you going to go over the kind of exercise?
Yeah, I'll just quickly jump in here. So we're just going to take a slight pause here. Diana's going to give us some little bit more of a best practice as we're getting into advanced prompting. And then following that, we're going to break out people into pods. And Joanna will walk us through what the logistics of that would look like. And the idea would be that once you sort of completed listening to Diana, we broken out into pods. The idea would be for you to get into a group discussion and either create one idea together as a group, or you guys can vibe code individual ideas and just get to know each other. So the idea for the breakout session is to build, but also network with each other, learn about each other, and leave here with a bigger community. So Diana, I'm going to hand it off to you to sort of take us through advanced prompting best practices. And then Joanna, we will transition into breakout rooms right after. If anybody has questions, feel free to ask, message Nick directly if you're having technical issues, but super excited for the next session. It'll be for about 25 minutes, and then we'll come back again and then finalize. So Diana, do you want to take it up?
Sure. Thank you, Melindra. So as we get into this more advanced prompting of how do you build out customized website, two things to note building on what Melendra said. First of all is advanced prompting is helped when you get different perspectives and when you have to communicate what you're attempting to do. And there's two ways that you can improve upon this. First of all is leveraging your pod in order to communicate what you're trying to do and getting their feedback to enrich things that you may not have thought about. And then the second thing is trying to figure out what baselines you may want to use for initial inspiration. So when we've been in other vibe coding sessions, other pod members have tried to replicate websites of their own businesses or businesses that they work for, and then iterate to show incremental improvements for a quick way to prototype without necessarily having that technical investment. So similarly, when you're thinking of your own website, you can think of websites that you can draw inspiration from in order to not only do that initial prompting, which we'll provide reference sheet for, but how do you iterate and get more detailed and add more colors and tones to the website that you ultimately envision. So those would be my key takeaways. And from an operational perspective, it really is about starting with what you need and building it out in order to encompass and deliver the experience. So with that, I will go ahead and submit the reference sheets and send you over into the pod activities.
You want to let us know when we are complete?
You're ready to go.
Awesome. Cool. Oh, Amelia, thank you for the comment. Nick, people are very impressed with Vibe Otter.
And thank you all for trying it. I love showing it off.
Awesome. So we're going to take a pause here because I did commit that we're going to have more raffles for now. So since we finished the workshop, would anyone like to raise their hands and volunteer and show us, in this pod, in the breakout room session, what you created? It doesn't have to be extensive. It can just be a 2-minute demonstration where you can just talk about your problem statement and just quickly walk us through your website in 2 minutes. And I see Amelia, you raised a hand already. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
I need some SOM swag. It's been too long.
Wait, you're going to share it with your group, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. There we go.
They
Okay,
have to
good.
give me you have to send like enough for the share. All right, let me share my screen real quick. This was really cool. The group did some really neat work with me, so thank you for that. All right. Am I sharing? Are you seeing the
Yes.
but you're probably seeing everything. Let me make this bigger. 1 second. So when we did the first prompt as the whole group, instead of building a personal website, I had it build the draft of my new business that's not launched yet website, which is a effort to build bridges between nonprofits and businesses through collaborative cohorts. So the basic website, was fine. It did all the things we talked about, kind of the about us experience. I didn't change pictures or images. And in our breakout group, we'd had it do two things. One, we had it build a kind of a coming soon session for training modules. And the prompt was, let's see if I can see it right here. The prompt was I want to offer training modules. Can you create a coming soon page that includes offerings for nonprofit governance, collaboration, best practices, and strat planning? Really basic, really quick, because I was typing in front of people. But with just that prompt, you guys, it built, sort of this coming soon page, the upcoming training modules, added a most requested, like it added flavor to it, which was really interesting, kind of what people could expect, and then a way to express their interest, even though I didn't necessarily ask for that, which we thought was pretty interesting and neat. And then we had it add an interactive page allowing organizations to submit an operational challenge that they have, which is kind of the point of the cohorts, and ask it to call it a community. And that's kind of all we gave it. And it created this community challenges page, which kind of talked about what it was, created the submit a challenge form, did a lot of neat things on that. It pulled in an organization type. I didn't tell it, what to do there. Pulled in the challenge categories. We didn't tell it kind of how to do that. And then it created all these active challenges that seeded the website basically with some active stuff. It allows you to respond to the challenge. We can't see the responses. I think they're fake right now. So I don't know what would happen. We did ask it to let us see the responses, but we didn't actually submit one to see what happens. But really, and the challenges that it kind of came up with that people are having are, with a quick glance, spot on. Might need some editing for, actual publication, but the fact that I've got this whole basic thing already built in 7 minutes is like got me so giddy, it's crazy. So hopefully that was 2 minutes worth, but very impressed. Thank you.
Amelia, thank you for sharing that. And definitely you're going to get some swag and we'll figure out how to share. Nick,
I mean, this is
Diana,
like this is Yale SOM, right? Public-private
totally.
Yeah.
communication. I mean, I'm like the embodiment of it, so exciting.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the group that worked with you as well. I know you had Jerry and a few others that I'm not recalling, but let us know who was in the group. I know Joanna also messaged that. Nick,
Yeah,
Diana,
Nakia
any
was in there
thoughts?
and Jerry was in there and Dylan was, we had Dylan's name in there. So it was
Perfect.
Yeah. See, this is a wonderful example of going further together than faster alone, but you did it in 7 minutes anyways. So you got the best of both worlds.
And
so
Jerry
wanted
and
to
Nakia were huge and coming up with the prompts. I just was the typist.
Yeah, and really that sense of collaboration really helps with iterating, right, on the prompting and really enriching the experience to the point where you can see a few tweaks here and there, and it's great to go as a minimum viable product. And it's going to be a living website, right? So you're constantly going to want to edit it and to ensure that it's representing. And given that it's for your business, what I also recommend is ensuring that your logo and thinking around business colors are incorporated because that's something that can really set you apart rather than the
Yeah,
default that it's
yeah,
providing.
it's got a lot of that was one of the questions I tried quickly in the prompt we did before to change the name with the logo. And I didn't have time to figure that out. And I actually have my own, so Nick, I'd have to figure out what that subscription means because I'm already on a Wix platform and would already own the domain. So it's kind of a matter of figuring out how to merge that. But you just made a big elephant much, much smaller. So appreciate it.
It's good to hear, and yeah, it sounds like an awesome idea. Actually, I get really fired up when I see all the stuff that people are making. You're like, why doesn't that exist? Something to make it easier for, companies to talk to nonprofits. So yeah, a few of your questions. One, we can transfer over a Wix domain. That one actually isn't automatic. So if you do want to do that, you'd have to contact me directly. I always like it when people contact me because I'm still at the stage. It's just good for me to talk to people and learn about what's going on. And yeah, I can hook that up for you if you like. Then I thought actually on your challenges page, it was a really good example for the group of the difference between what I meant by like the simple website and the full stack website. And what I mean by that is like, your challenges page was generated so that it could email you. And Vibe Otter, if you just said hook up the email on the challenges page to this email, it would present you that little input again, and then you could just hook it up so it emails you. And if you're okay with that, then it's fine. If you wanted to make some like kind of database where it stores all the challenge inputs and someone could log in and see their challenges, that's where it's kind of getting beyond Vibe Otter's current capability, and that's where you would want to go to the other tools I was talking about.
Thanks, Nick. That's super helpful. I know we're at time, and I also did promise that we're going to have more raffles. So we're going to play a quick competition here. This is fastest finger first, and a few people have dropped out, so the odds of winning is much higher right now, right? So my first question, you can type it in the chat. Is everybody ready? All right, my first question is name a competitor of Vibe Otter. So name a competitor. All right, Uma. Uma knew this at the back of his hand. He knew what's coming. All right. I'm going to make it a little bit more complex now. So what is the full form of PAG? The SOM PAG. People are close, but not close enough. All right, Victor, it's not fair. Victor, you cannot participate. If somebody types professional alumni groups, again, they might win it. Whoever types professional alumni groups first. All right, Amelia. All right, we have a good raffle draw. Awesome. So we're slightly over time. So I just want to close this out by saying, first off, thank you to Joanna and the entire SOM team for supporting this. Victor has been a big supporter of the PAGs. And Nick, cannot thank you enough for taking your time from just being a single founder of an AI company to come and spend 90 minutes with us. And Diana, she's got like 4 different jobs at any given time. And for her to come here and dedicate the same amount of time, it's just been awesome. So if you enjoyed the event, would love if you can share this with your network, talk about it on LinkedIn. We want to build this community. We want to, go bigger with this, get the word out, and also make sure that you guys stay connected. So after the session, just make sure you guys send each other a LinkedIn connect and start talking to each other because it's all about growing the SOM community. So I'll stop there. If Nick, Diana, Joanna, you guys have some parting words, otherwise, that's it from my side.